cursor isn't being weird. This looks better so far. That is much better, okay. Okay, everything's back to normal. Let's get our great Ace Attorney shit on the run. Consider this defense, blah blah blah, summation examination. I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. Gavel! That's a drink. Oh, it's a drinking game. Oh, I forgot to mention that. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman? Oh, yeah, it's this guy again. We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Judicial findings. Jurors' contentions. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. I'm going to press on that because I want him to tell me what those 3 books were. If there was some novel, alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course, right? The one who just wants to get home. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, he threw his wine. No one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way. Well, just you wait, Judge. That means I'm afraid that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those two details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. And there, I was thinking this might be hard. But Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends. Ugh. No pressure, then. Gavel. That's a drink. It's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel? Oh yes, my lord. All right, Ryunosuke. Focus your mind now. Face slap. That's a drink. Clearly the key to this summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say, Mrs. Garrideb? We have a book that disappeared from the Garrideb's house on the evening of the incident. And the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. So we need to press the first guy because he said the 3 books. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far. Whatever it takes. Because we have the receipt for his. The Lion's Pride, right, which was not the 3 books. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garrideb and how she reacts, even to the things other people say. Jury examination. Defense's rebuttal. So we don't present here, we just press. I think we press this. Hold it! Hold it, that's a drink. But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. No, the window being open, someone else mentioned that. So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say. I think we have evidence that the window wasn't closed. The back cover is badly burnt. Yep. Let's press on this. What about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? Prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see? But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. And what's the point in even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Fuck. Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise, right? I need to show the window's open. Let's press her, see what happens. But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? With flames of love, I'll have you know. There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Oh, well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garrideb. Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute. A jovial dispute, nothing more. She keeps hitting that guy, and I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garrideb's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is, right? I figured we should press him as well, because he was the only one that was like, didn't have an argument. He was like, I just want to get home. I just want to get this over with. Hold it! Let's press him. Table slam. You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. There's the drinking game rules for anybody interested. Well, him and me both then, like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some Reddies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. A situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well, you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry? It was too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out. Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Mr. Sato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he, or she, could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes, I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions. Just the connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit. Alright, I'm gonna do a little BRB and make another drink.
On my head, figure out what that zombie said. What? Lava all over the room. Got a half heart left, man, I am doomed. Don't have any iron bars. My pick just broke into some shards. Scary noise, what should I do? Go left or right, I'll have to choose. Visions of last time flash inside my mind. I'm scared. Oh well. And I'm pretty sure there's a big creeper right there. Don't mind at night. I know you're looking getting old. Found like 2 pieces of coal. Down one way, there's just stone. Monsters won't leave me alone. Down another, there's some lava, and of course I get pwned. Remember last time I tried to mine at night? I failed so bad. I lost all my stuff, it was really tough. That's it. Rage quit. Don't mine at night. I know you're looking at that cave and you're feeling kind of brave. Go to bed, you'll be alright. Don't mine at night. There's nothing that is gonna change if you just wait until the day zombies wanna eat your brains. Don't mine at night. I know it's me you're gonna thank. Make a bed, it's not too late. 3 wool and 3 wooden planks. Don't mine at night. How many times I have to say, drop the pick and walk away. Hey, whoa, don't mine at night. 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 I know you're looking at that cave and you're feeling kind of brave. Go to bed, you'll be alright. Don't mine at night. There's nothing that is gonna change if you just wait until the day zombies wanna eat your brains. Don't mine at night. I know it's me you're gonna thank. Make a bed, it's not too late. 3 wool and 3 wooden planks. Don't mine at night. How many times I have to say, drop the pick and walk away. Hey, whoa, don't mine at night. Don't mine at night.
Perfect timing. Alright, so there's a few people I haven't pressed yet. Actually, it's just these 2 I haven't pressed. Let's go ahead and...
Hold it!
So you might be willing to accept some... Oh my, such a delight on your face. And a frame that shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking. Wouldn't you say? I'm not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly. But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one. Yeah, we're working on it. I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady. Right. Glad you omitted rational there. Guess we can, let's do the sneezy man, the old man at the end. Make sure we press everyone. Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry? What's that? You'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on the top, it did. What a sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Of course not. It was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously. Seems that that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Noverhood. Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out. The candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. And then they had to open the window. Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. I knew it was going to be important to press his testimony, even though it didn't seem important. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did you catch a cold from a fire? What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. Okay. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, they opened the window. We had to open all the windows to clear it. And I have proof that there was a fire inside their apartment, so that they would have opened the window to... Yep. Excuse me. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was devil worship all along. Wow, now who's the racist, Ryunosuke? But something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. Yep. Demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Atsume, could have attacked the young woman. Yeah, okay, yeah, we already know this. Let me just press them again and see if anything changes now that we... Yeah, looking around doesn't matter if no one's doing anything. So if we pit you and you against each other. Right, it changed. Winter house fires are dire. You have to open the windows to clear the smoke. That's when the chill gets you.
Objection!
Yes! Successful. The music stopped. These two juror statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I told you, it wasn't me. Hmm? What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Juror number 3. Do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd have to... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garadep household, and they were going to ask me to prove it, I bet. And Mr. Garadep had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my!
Oh, my hat. Wait. It didn't let us just, like, stop and... No, we're reloading that. So because autoplay was on, that's annoying. Ugh, okay, so we're back here. Speed through, because we already done this. It's so annoying because of autoplay. It decided to just like be like, hey, we're just gonna skip this for you, even though there's clearly something we should have pressed.
Objection!
Exactly. In question time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garrett household. Following to say about it. The place filled with smoke. Oh, my hat. Right. And she's doing her thing. We should do. Excuse me. Jury number 4. Do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garrett. Oh, dearie me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am? It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. What is it? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window? What? I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating? The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire, as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, alright then. Yes, you're right. I was just frankly trying to open the window. Which can't have been easy since I continued to get him justly deserved. Wow. Even though your house was on fire? Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. Wow. Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Garrett's formal statement. Now you mention it, yes, the window was open at the time. I'd clean forgotten, but it's true. Window could have been open when the woman was throwing books. Definitely a possibility. I feel like this is where we would pit them against each other.
Objection! Hold it!
Yeah. Complete nonsense. And we're about to lose a point, so we're just gonna go back. So wait, we got her to admit that I'd clean forgotten. Let's press her on this, actually. The fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. Well, in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading? I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. Damn. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Table slam, that's a drink. Why do you not reveal this information to the court from the outset? Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on, as well you know. I really don't. I was about to say.
Oh boy.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it. Yep, I figured he'd have something to say at some point.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I've remembered what it was. That memory I'd blocked out. Ah, it was listening to what this granny was saying. Brought it all flooding back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garadeb, or the maid, I'll have you know. And doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home from work. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear. What a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck in the wall, into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know, that god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruhodo, you must think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. Fucking Susato. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later. If I dare. When in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. I don't know if I need to pit him. Let's just press his statement first and just see what we get.
Hold it!
Do I really threw a kitchen knife at you? That's right. She was chopping meat with it. Had a tidy edge on it, believe me. Still, it's all memories, isn't it? Started with that smile she threw at me when we were courting. Since then, the list of things she's thrown at me has grown, along with our relationship. Fuck. There was a cup, then a glass, then a pot, a kettle, a chair, a wardrobe, a cooker, a bathtub. My wife must be even beefier than you. And things came to a head last week when she threw me, right into the Thames. What? Still, she's not so bad when she's calmed down. She's a little sweetheart, really. I'm so happy for you. If you want to know what I think this whole idea of ladies first that we're so obsessed with in this country was thought up by some clever lads who'd been tossed in the Thames a few too many times by their wives. Okay, that's a very interesting theory. What a terrible thought. On the face of it, this juror statement just sounds like a really extreme anecdote. But I think it might turn out to be an extremely powerful weapon. A weapon I might be able to use to make jurors accept an alternative explanation here. Right. So that's who we pit. Oh, I see what I have to do. I have to go back to... And I have to use this, an alternative explanation. That's why that was highlighted. If there was some novel alternative explanation of how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. A woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. I don't think we have any evidence that a knife killed them, but maybe this can just, like, point out something or get some drama going for us to, like, get something positive.
Objection!
Yes, the music stopped. Let's go. That's a drink. Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief. You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2. Do you think, perhaps, that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my. Whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the fourth book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrideb's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrideb household to the street below. Yeah? What's that now? After all, Mrs. Garrideb could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What was it? I don't know if we've proved that yet. I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrideb household to the scene of the crime was the fourth book. Oh, wait, or it could be the knife, right? Because that's what we're trying to prove. Some other object. Right, because we've already established. We've demonstrated that the fourth book that was found at the scene of the crime originated. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object. So it's definitely not the book. It's the jackknife. We're presuming that the knife found its way out of there.
Take that!
The murder weapon. Oh, the music stopped. I think we're good. Take that. That's a drink, by the way. Juror number 4. Mrs. Garrideb. I'm going to remind y'all of the drinking game rules. What now? I must apologize in advance for this. but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Ah. Good Lord, Counsel. What on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged into the victim's back, man. Table slam. That's a drink. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb were in the throes of an argument. It was not a weak table slam, though. It was one drink. Mrs. Garrideb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who'd been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out of the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Huh. Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why we must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my. I gotta throw something away here. Mrs. Garrideb, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before? Or not? Oh, oh, she's about to have a breakdown. My lord, I wish to change my decision. Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman? I'd have to agree. Oh, we did it. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm quite happy about this. I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. 1, 2, 3, I think it was? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. We did it. I think we did it, yeah. Oh, congratulations. So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, the number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue. Murmur, 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 whisper, whisper, whisper. Oh, I should definitely move my monitor over. I'm not going to do it right now, but... Now then, Lord Von Sykes, said as the prosecution wished to proceed. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Because I remembered the only reason I had it right there was because there was a window there for Boris. So I should definitely at least move that to the other side. Ooh, I might even move it over quite a bit. Yeah, we'll see. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Von Sykes, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke, to which I barely know how to respond. Let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garadeb household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garadeb's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards, that's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Table slam, that's a drink. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Miss Susato. Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead. Prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy. But what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garrett, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Murmur, 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 whisper, whisper, gavel, gavel, gavel. That's 3 drinks. Order, order, order. Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
Objection, that's another drink. We got 2 left. And unnecessary. Look, Lord of Onsykes. Ooh, it's another drink. Okay, we're caught up. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown to the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Oh, rolling and polling. Yes, sir. Constable Rolling Beat. Reporting for duty, sir. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now. Sir. I slept for a month. I'm kind of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rolly, my hero. You make me swoon. Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. Oh, that's exactly what I said. Order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. Stand forthwith before the court. Any details pertaining to the alternative explanation. Blah, 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 blah. Constable Beats report. I'm not gonna autoplay this yet. Hold on. I'm not even clicked on that. Why was that? It's so annoying. Yeah, Masha. case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, in London, Bobby is good for his word. You see, Saw, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett house are top hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help. My trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't see what the last thing he said was. It's quite startling. Top hinged casement windows. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, Saw. Nothing strange to report on that front, Saw. I think we need to press that. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment. DGL was on the police report, Constable. Ah, yes. Sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy, right? He keeps talking about being drowsy and sleeping and all that. I'm like, I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment. I'm gonna press that. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. Sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinged casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course. Sorry. Sorry, Daddy Von Legs. I found it, Mr. Narrowhead. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's room. Right, they open from the top. They like... Or wait, did they open... How do they open? Yeah, they opened... So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. Like, yeah, up and in, right? Yep, up and in. That makes sense. But as it's a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents its opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. So we have to prove she was moved, maybe? No. You see the problem, then? Good. Your education in windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. That can't be. Did you see that, Rolly? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my arguments, been destroyed. Gavel, what's a drink? Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination. My lord. Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Alright, before we do this cross-examination, we're gonna take a little break, and I'm gonna use the restroom. it's the English version. You. Oh, you used it the same name, Remy. It's like... It is caramel dancing. But like, English version. You. Give me the Swedish. It is Swedish, right? It's some kind of Scandinavian. Most people think it's like Korean or like it's like K-pop or J-pop, but I'm pretty sure it's actually like Scandinavian original language, like Swedish. All right, so yeah. We've got some testimony to work on here. Windows in this office open really wide. Love it. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna skip all the way to the last one and press that. Didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for one moment. Hold it. That's a drink. Nothing to report. That's correct, so I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the Yard's honor saw. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, saw. Strange, saw. Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garrett household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Right, it's like you didn't see anything strange. It's like you're telling me you didn't see this, like, book fall down from 2 stories above and somehow land in this victim's hand? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Oh yeah, of course, baby, it's just a different copy. Yep, that's much better if I'm gonna be smoking weed here. even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me, right? It's in the hands from the moment of the scene. The two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. I'm so sorry, Mr. Haru. I had no right to speak out. What do you mean? I requested the cross-examination of Mrs. Garrett without consulting you, even if the judge did deny me. Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Mrs. Garrett if we're ever going to get to the truth of this matter. Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how that window opens, Mrs. Garrett book found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it? You're right. And then there was Mrs. Garrett's reaction to me showing her the knife. The woman's hiding something. I'm sure of it. You're right again. We need to use cross-examination to cover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or the other, I swear. Okay, so we pressed that last thing. Something that's not sitting right with me. Two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of that window, we would have seen it. I don't know if we need to press this first or just present, but we can present the book. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already, and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star. Sorry? The star that will guide us to eternal happiness. Can it guide you to answer the question? Right? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star, and they would have seen it. Here we go. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least. Of course, what with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir. Added to the testimony. It certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her. Did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Nothing strange to... Oh, wait, no. If anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I think this is where we... Oh, come on. This is where we present the book. Go back. Right. Now they're just gonna be like, oh, there's like... See, it's like this specific way it wants you to, like, uncover shit. Let's press this as well, just because we're here. Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer. Is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on rolling speed, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box and every beat. So Rolly told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Okay. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. So, I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes, but like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, so... Didn't take my off crime scene for one moment, nothing strange to report. Okay, so let's... So we've pressed that statement as well. Let's just see if we can present the book here and... Yeah, no music change. Okay. I guess we can press this again, see if it does anything. This case has nothing to do. Well, we have a book that says otherwise. How can you say that for certain? Very good question, Sai. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? Can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. That's what the job's all about. And that is why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you what Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes, admittedly. Sa. Oh, Rolly, you're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. No, none of that is what I want. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? Ah, I see, Sa. You should have said so earlier, Sa. Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time, then. Absolutely, Sa. I will answer to the fullest of my abilities, Sa. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get into that, Sa, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of the Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. So to that end, Sa, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Yes, more evidence. Thank you, I'll try. Constable Beats warrant card. Thank you. New evidence. Okay, let's examine this thing. A policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. A patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. I remember this. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered as a beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Maybe that's what it is. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. So I'm thinking maybe that's it. We did get new evidence. Nope. There's one statement we haven't pressed yet. They don't open fully. It's just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see, so they're restricted as how much they open. I bet we needed to press this, and therefore anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Yep. Here is the location where object would have fallen. So we needed to press this to get more information. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime, on the other side of the rather wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top-hinged casement thing before? Thank you. Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house is furnished with? Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday. Excuse me. Here we go. Do you have something to add, Mrs. B? Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see. Oh, I hadn't realized. Oh, yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? So who was covering your beat? Table slam, that's the drink. Constable beat. Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants of the Garrideb household yesterday. Their house is on my beat, you see. So. I really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrideb household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Garrideb's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Yep, and now we have the warrant card to... Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary, right? They're basically saying, yeah. But that's the life of a Bobby, after all. Extraordinary people are Bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. Do you know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. But see, they just said... Don't you think so, my darling? They just said that the crime occurred on the other side of the road. Because they said the Garadeb's, like, he just basically said, the reason I know about the windows is because Garadeb's house is on my beat. And the alley next, and the sidewalk next to it, but not the other side of the road, I bet. So it's like, okay, then why were you on this side of the road, and why did you cover this beat when it wasn't yours? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. Hey, perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Yep. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. The case file's information has been updated in the court record. And now it's my turn, I think. Just outside Constable Beat's beat. Can I ask you something, please, Mr. Lawyer, sir? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really. I mean, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valid. You might just see me as the wise of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word. I really don't ever remember suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? Oh, so I didn't even get a chance to point out the contradictions. Yes, Mrs. B. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one, yep. That was a very loud matter. I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that. But my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be able to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. I guess we press this just to see what happens. It's a new piece of testimony. Mrs. B. Oh. What did you say? Nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening, I saw it clearly. That little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back slinking away from the scene. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction? Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross. Excuse me. Constable B. Is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening, is all. You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way? On the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquets, silly. Oh, of course. The bouquet? Bouquet? Whatever. Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for it with farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds. Yes, how romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. Had you, my darling? Oh yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh. What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet. Table slam. That's a drink. Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. I assume we need to press that as well, but I don't think there's anything we have right now that has anything about the bouquet. So yeah, we just press this. You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. I was so upset. When we ran over and saw, it was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked, I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first. And then you went to the police box and reported to the policeman whose beat it was on? Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all. In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased. I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road. Your husband, presumably? That's right. Silly me, I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think how it got there. I really can't. So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Curious indeed. Isn't it? But the worst of it is, I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me, with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting. By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry, solitary rose? Oh. Oh, yes, that's it. That's one flower. That's not a bouquet. That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary, with old bits of change he found in the gutter. Okay, bitch. A bouquet literally has to be at least... It's got to be at least 2 flowers. Maybe just call it a rose? Tell us, Lord Von Sykes, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation... Is it already in our court record? No, we can't examine it yet. It was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garadeb household. In front of the Garadeb's house. Although it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Could I have it back now, please? No. I think for good measure, this rose should be added to the court record as evidence. Oh. Anniversary bouquet has been added to the court record. And we are immediately going to examine it. An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower. Ah, this is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before. Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo? I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least. Gosh, 3? Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you should consider branching out and learning some that aren't fruit tree based, for example. Sorry, closing one of the windows. Oh, I can't wait till I get that glass chair mat. It's a very stylish paper the flower's wrapped in, isn't it? It's just excuse me, it's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me. I see. Is something wrong? Oh, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English paper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake. Ah, Susato-san, you do love your cakes. Okay, just the old stylish paper. An English rose, yeah. So, don't know if there's anything to this one. Yeah, doesn't look there's really anything to examine. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back. Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. B. So we now have the anniversary bouquet. Yeah, let's just push through and see what it says. The whole idea of an invisible attacker has been troubling me all along, but I believe I'm starting to get a picture of what really happened here now. Fourth book that had no business being at the scene of the crime made me sure that Mrs. Garadeb was hiding something from us. But it's becoming increasingly clear that someone else has been hiding something from us as well. I think I may be armed with everything I need to strike a decisive blow here. This time, it's going to expose... Okay. So everything we need. So we've got the evidence we need to present then. So it must be the bouquet. And she says she dropped it on she dropped it on the side there, which, like, why were you there with him on the beat? I think it's maybe we present the like the Bobby code here. Didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, so nothing strange to report on that front. She did seem very surprised to be like, "Oh, that's mine, give it back." Oh, I think we did. Table slam, that's a drink. I claim Constable B that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. B, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby. Right. And the fact that he said it was like the objection, that's a drink. Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry blossom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. Meager? That's another drink. But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? Why indeed? No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rowley didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. Table slam. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrideb's book. Which was thrown out of the window by his wife, which should have been right here, right? But somehow it ended up on this side of the road. And then you had Rowley and Patricia. They said they were walking on this side of the road, and that she dropped her bouquet on this side of the road. But somehow when it was found, it ended up over here. Because, yeah, the lion's pride, which was thrown out of this side, should have only been able to end up here, but somehow it was over here. And then the rose, which was dropped over here and should have stayed over here, somehow ended up over here. Would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beats' bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. Murmur, whisper, whisper, whisper. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my rolie's done something wrong. Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Wittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking. That's what it is. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrideb, but deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. Bling, bling, bling. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason. Objection. That's another drink. And a table slam. That's another drink. Tampering. You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend. Who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Gavel. That's another drink. I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture, counsel. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? She left to go find a policeman. He stayed to watch the scene of the crime. But I think he fell asleep. I think that's what happened to him. He stayed to watch the scene of the crime, but he's talking about being fatigued and falling asleep all the time. I think he fell asleep and didn't notice someone tampered it. She left the scene of the crime and went somewhere else, so she couldn't have tampered with it. They were stabbed. That's the prosecutor. Herlock Sholmes is not part of it. John Garrideb maybe, and Joan Garrideb maybe. They were there. Everyone else wasn't, except for Soseki, but we're assuming he didn't do it because he's our client. So that leaves these two. An old knee injury means he's confined to a chair, which means he couldn't have gone down and changed anything. That just leaves Joan, if we believe everything else to be true. No. There's only one person who could have done this. Do you intend to share your internal monologue, counsel? Sorry, my lord. I was just taking a moment to get things straight in my mind. And for that moment of wasted court's time, you will pay for the price? So I'm wrong. Ugh, is it me or are things getting more strict around here? What you were thinking is right, Mr. Naruhodo. There is only one person who had the opportunity to tamper with the scene of the crime. There can be no mistake. Yes, I thought so. There's no point overthinking this. There's really only one option. Oh, okay. Rolly, I guess. Or Patricia. That seems more likely. Nope. No, they're not siblings. So it's gotta be Rolly then. Either that or I'm wasting a lot of my choices here. There we go, the music stopped. Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Obviously. No, the whole time they've been husband and wife. You have not been paying attention, Remy. Constable Rolly beat. It was you! What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard? What nonsense. Why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. He just came back. Good. I'm glad you're back. There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London. There's no one straighter than my husband. Catchphrase of every beard. Okay, well, I hope you and your mommy had a good conversation. Mrs. B, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. I will say the stream was buffering a lot more earlier. But now it's doing better because I had to restart the stream. I think you were gone, but I restarted my computer and restarted the stream and everything. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did. Objection. That's a dream. Table slam. That's another dream. If that was true, Constable B would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. B, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Arg. Well. Objection. That's another drink. First, you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. Evidence. Proof. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there was only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime. To hide something. That's right. He's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense. You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable B had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery? Gavel. That's another drink. Oh no, I'm sorry, Remy. Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against the London police officer. If you're mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. Oh, so is this like a all or nothing? With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Big breath. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide. It's either for whatever you did, maybe it was making fun of me, or the book fell, or the bouquet fell, or the victim fell. I'm gonna take a little beat and use the restroom while we decide, but I think it's where the victim fell. And I'll explain my reasoning why soon. BRB. think, chat? I haven't paid any attention. Well, thanks, Remy. For nothing. I guess where the victim fell. Oh, and it took them away. We're good. We did it. Table slam, where the victim fell to the ground. This is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? What? Gavel. Beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my new bunny's friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? I think I'm saying that it actually took place over here. Because if we say over here, that doesn't help us. It's the same where it always was, but we need to say it took place over here.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road. I don't understand. Table slam on the evening in question. Mr. Garridam's book fell directly down from the open window above. And your bouquet, Mrs. Pete, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious.
Objection!
Objection. That's another drink. Table slam, that's another drink. Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. These witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right. I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was the typical London fog on the ground, yes, as we described. Or as they described, when you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid. That was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook? The bouquet, I presume. Exactly. He should have pushed it. He should have thrown it to the other side of the... Yeah. Prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Von Sykes said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. Table slam. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Rolly Beat. Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rolly. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything. Come out. Everything. Exposed. Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly. Good golly, Miss Molly. Gavel, gavel, gavel. Order, order, order. What on earth is the meaning of all this? Oh, Rolly, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one, too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town. Excuse me. I can't say so. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this, for damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything. I have a possible explanation for why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Von Sykes, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you'd better show some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan. It makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. Right? What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions? I think it's his warrant card. And the reason I think that is because it says any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. And so he wanted to make sure this crime was on his beat and it could help him with, like, getting shit.
Take that!
I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I have only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways, there's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable B, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. Oh, no, that's what it was. It's the exact opposite. The crime did occur on his beat, but he moved it to the other side of the road so that he wouldn't be responsible for it. and so that he and his wife could go out to dinner for their anniversary. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? Flashback, that's the drink. But just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot being married to a Bonnie like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations to help detectives. Constable Beat. Is that, or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? That's why. Under the couch, you weirdo. There he goes. Yes. Everything you said, it's all right. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat. Oh. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious. Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were. Where the victim was lying. And what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Yep, we talked about that. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight of all nights? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat, so you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Mearscum Street, and then... Oh, Rolly. I'm... Oh, he's crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rolly. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined, and so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought... Well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon? Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Rolly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. Ah, I see your meaning now. But God got me back from my sentence, didn't he? That's why. That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly. And can you tell us, Constable, How many books? Did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? 4 it was. Yes, definitely. 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garrett household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand when all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean? Oh, well, that's because that's how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. The Eber. Yep. Interesting. So I don't think he did it, but he definitely did something that changed things up for us. The force book's information has been updated. Okay. It's in the victim's hand when Mr. Beat first ran over to see what had happened. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. Right? Exactly. Like, literally, if he didn't do this, at least half of this trial would have been avoided, if not more. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. You know, I didn't think that moving the entire scene of the crime 10 to 20 feet, I didn't think it'd make a difference. Go out to your dinner tomorrow. Well, to be fair, it sounds like he'd been planning it for a while, and like he only had that day off or something. But still, you don't do this. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to be a cop anymore, my lord. Yes, Lord of Bonsex? I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir, what will become of Unruly? What will happen to him? Gasp out. Exactly. For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course. Please don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. Alright then, my love. One last thing, Constable. So, let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Yeah, he's 23 and she's 21, is what the game says. Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Ah, never again, sir. You mean to say... Leave now. This trial is not yet over. They're gonna let him stay a cop? That's bullshit. Gavel. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Never thought of a third party translating the entire scene of a crime like that. Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could have possibly committed this crime. Objection. Yeah, what do you mean? Table slam. That's the drink. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Right, now that it's on the right side of the street, or the left side of the street, rather. Like, forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility. Lord Von Sykes, is this true? Very well. Name the person, if you will, and if further investigation is warranted, the prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. Gavel, you will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime. Now it's the maid. Because it's on the right side of the scene, she could have thrown the book, and she could have thrown the knife that then fell down.
Take that!
Now it's her. confident table slam. The defense would once again like to request a cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again, my assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case, it's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garridab. Me! Oh, dearie me.
Objection!
Objection. That's a drink. Oh, some water. Table slam, that's another drink. That request has already been denied.
Objection!
Objection, that's another drink. But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garridab, answer me this. What do you want now, you little toad? At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garridab. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road. Well, what of it? You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top-hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down. Table slam, finding its way. That's a drink to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Yes, and as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just the books, but anything you could lay your hands on. Knuckle sandwich he's about to give us. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garridab. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back. Have you really never laid eyes on it before? Ah. I don't recall it. Serious? Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? I mean, and anyway, the man over there in all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he? Conveniently.
Objection.
Yes. Objection. No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4. Oh shit. Make no mistake, you jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out. But that's just a common or garden knife. Common or garden knife? It could have come from anywhere. A common or garden knife. That's not something anyone says. There are some interesting localization choices the English translation people made. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying, please, Mrs. Garridab? Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all of this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife, if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop chop. Do your worst. Well, Mr. Naruto? If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Table slam, that's a drink. Then take the stand, juror. Oh! The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Von Sykes. Oh, this is where the Edgeworth turn. When he starts to be gay for us. I'm going to have to testify? Gavel. The cheek physics? Yeah, I know, right? She's like, get fucked, Joan. Even Von Sykes is throwing your ass in the bus. Juror number 4, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes today. Yes, witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware. Oh, dearie me. So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garrideb, and mark my words. In this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Oh, shit. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm a lawyer. Yeah, I'm here in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Right, it's like you thought Phoenix Wright was an awkward, like, bumbling fool. Wait till you meet Ryunosuke. I hear him. Witness, state your name and occupation. Oh, yes. My name is Joan Garrideb. And I'm, well, you're a maid for your husband. I'm a juror. And such like, juror is not an occupation, you dumb bitch. Sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. Technically, this is a harem anime, if you think about it. I mean, you're not wrong. The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam? Wait, you're just getting away with her saying she's a juror as her profession? Yes, my lord. We will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth. Kissing on the prosecutor's tongue. Oh dearie me. Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. I presume you're Mr. John Garrideb? Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers. I can't remember how to pronounce that. So, seen my fair share of action and now living the quiet life, as it were. Quiet life? Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Yes. Quite. Gavel. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Fuck. Sir, at once. The Battle of Garrideb. Well. His name is Edgeshot. Oh my god, like Edgeworth? Oh wow. Alright, we're gonna do a raid to Apache Smash. He's he's playing. Okay, hold on. And we're gonna raid Apache, and this is gonna be our raid message for anyone that's here. Follow Apache Smash on Twitter. Oh, thanks everyone for joining me for the first stream in the new home. We're gonna be back live again on Tuesday playing maybe Dragon's Dogma, maybe something else. We'll see. But that's it for the stream tonight. Take care, y'all. I will see y'all later. I need to exit this game, save, overwrite. But yeah, see y'all later. Bye.